if we're speaking about just that particular portion of time when death is imminent and the person has decided for themselves that they are in intolerable pain or suffering, that if we're speaking just about that particular time rather than, I know we've heard, and the same from Professor Uhill, about Canada and the Netherlands, where they're looking at very different stages in people's lives and under very different circumstances. Could you maybe talk to us about that and whether you feel that is a stable middle ground, to use your phrase?
Yes, it's certainly not, and one can test it for oneself by considering the rationale for getting to that point which is proposed. So the rationale offered just here is that we first of all respect rational choice, we then respect autonomy, and then we seek to minimise harm. That triumvirate urges much wider euthanasia access beyond cases of terminal illness. There's nothing within any of those goods that would restrict the case for euthanasia to 6 months terminal illness. In fact, if we're looking to minimise harm, then the case for considering chronic illness within the parameters of acceptable euthanasia is stronger than stronger than the case for accepting terminal illness, because someone with a chronic condition could always say that they have more harm ahead of them in their life, where someone with a terminal illness can say, truthfully, that my harm is coming to an end. So I'd say the rationale isn't at all stable. When scrutinised, it contains no reason for the restriction that it posits.
And is that your concern, Dr. Finegan, that if this was introduced and it was introduced with very specific safeguards, that people would then maybe take a challenge because they don't feel that their situation is within the parameters of those safeguards, and that things would naturally, as a result, expand? Is that your concern?
As a matter of reason, they would be oriented towards expansion, whether it's people taking challenges or the law overlooking what's happening, or the judiciary intervening, or legislators considering future amendments 12 months, 18 months down the line. The rationale has been directed on a path towards greater expansion, and that anyone then that tries to limit it is running up against the very reasons for introducing the law in the first place. They run into coherence, they run into arbitrary discrimination, they run into the problem of not having a stable rational basis for excluding persons who wish to be included as part of this euthanasia access. This is no mere theoretical proposal on my part. It's very well backed up by the fact of how this legislation has proceeded when introduced, and even in cases like Oregon, which has made a concerted effort at one level to be restrictive in terms of restricting itself to terminal illness, we still see within the public data instances of chronic illnesses being passed as justifiable grounds for euthanasia. So again, I mean, another big concept was alluded to there, the idea that if someone thinks that the value of their life is eroding, life's value can diminish in value according to the views of the person whose life it is. That can apply to anyone, whether they're terminally ill or not. So there's 4 reasons offered together which justify this euthanasia access, and each of them individually and together as a whole run counter to restricting euthanasia access to 6 months terminal illness. Or even restricting it to physical suffering.